Ingenious new puzzle adventure Stacking is one of our favourite games of the year so far, and not just because we've always secretly dreamed of wearing the bodies of our friends and family like oversized flesh parkas. We spoke to gaming legend and all-round nice guy Tim Schafer about the making of the game.
Right. Hi, I'm Tim Schafer. I'm the president of Double Fine Productions.
I'm Lee Petty, project lead on Stacking. Actually, I had to bring in a set of 3 progressively sized midgets to prove to Tim that it could be done. And he was skeptical at first, but
then horrified, and then amused, and then slightly aroused.
Which is that's our state of game approval, where you kind of go through each of those things.
Those are the classic phases of approval.
Oddly enough, they all end up as transvestite slasher films. And no, so in terms of pitching internally, or you mean publisher? So yeah, I mean, I think we have this process called Amnesia Fortnight, where we have 2 weeks to make a game, and before that process, we sort of pitched him on an idea. And so I'd just done like a little concept drawings and talked about the idea of just the sort of moment-to-moment fun it'd be to sort of find and be able to take over another doll and use its abilities to some higher end. And then as we were sort of, Tim liked that idea, and then we spent the 2 weeks developing it, and in that time we sort of brought up the core look of the game, and we had one of the puzzles, and you could solve it multiple ways, and sort of started bringing in some of those old school adventure game elements, but in a different way, and I think Tim really liked that.
Yeah, when the prototype was done, I could see like it wasn't just a good idea, but it was something that actually looked really special. Like it had a very, let's say, classy look to it, because the fart jokes weren't in there yet. But it really looked classy, and it played really well. It had a different take on interacting with an adventure game, because instead of just waiting until you figured out a puzzle, you'd actually be jumping into all these different dolls and seeing what they did and playing with the game as if it was a toy, which is always a goal of our games.
I actually do usually go to sleep with a bit of Stilton in my system, and no, so it was. It is, yeah. Stilton's actually my stepfather, and see, retired nowadays. So I mean, we were. I think I was just looking for a way to sort of condense some of these mechanics, some of these ideas of trying to make. Where do you get moment-to-moment gameplay in an adventure game, and how do we like not make it all about searching for esoteric objects? And I saw my daughter playing with a stack of Russian dolls, and I was like, well, that'd be really great, because it's just fun to do, and those characters could be your objects and your verbs and the tools to use to solve puzzles, and it really just came from that. And then I started imagining what sort of world those dolls would live in, and what sort of things they might do, and what the theme of the game could be. And went through a lot of early ideas, and I think Tim was sort of saying, well, what if you're sort of the runt? What if you're the tiniest doll and people don't really pay attention to you? And but
I was the youngest child. So
yeah, he gets a lot of those like.
What if you're little and no one paid attention to you, but you were the best?
Yeah.
And you proved it to everybody.
Exactly.
By splitting them in half.
Well, we sort of started with just the idea of, I sort of said it, I wanted to have like a non-specific vintage feel, kind of mix of a couple of different eras. I was sort of thinking about maybe around the turn of the century, 20th century, when Russian dolls were more or less invented. And well, what would their world be? And I wanted to give it a sense of miniature feel, and we did that a number of ways, using sort of a tilt-shift photography as an influence, and silent film, and the sort of idea of that these looked at early stop motion animation, and they always had this really cool combination of things that were crafted for the small sizes and just found objects that they would like use cotton balls for clouds, or they'd take a button off someone's coat and put it as a doorknob, or those sort of things. So we just sort of try to take that to its kind of logical extent and make it all gel together and feel like it could be a world that these guys exist in. Well, there is a lot of farting, which does tend to overlap with Americans pretty
Who doesn't like that?
Who doesn't like that? Yeah, I mean, I think, there's definitely, we try to have a combination of like a high and lowbrow humor. We do have classical music, but we do have farting and burping and coughing up cookies and all these other sort of things. So I think there's a little bit of something, if you, in there for everyone, if you really want to play the game using the dolls that have these sort of more social aspects to them, their abilities, you can solve puzzles that way. But if you like to go around and slap people with white gloves and issue challenges, you can do that too. So I think hopefully there's a breadth of entertainment in there.
I was thinking of it being more balzazing.
Balzazing.
Which is an even newer and more powerful term than amaze.
I was thinking balbastic, because it's got a lot of style to it.
It's never going to catch on.
It's no amaze ball, sure, but has its own sort of visceral appeal.
Thanks, Tim. Stacking is out now on the PlayStation Store, and you're a fool if you're even thinking of not buying it.